Hello everyone. On this video, we will be looking at the sum and difference formulas of sine. Okay, so the first one is the sum formula. So sine of a plus b equals sine of a times cosine of b plus cosine of a times sine of b. And sine of a minus b is equal to sine of a times cosine of b minus cosine of a times sine of b. All right, so let's get started on our first example. So what if we want to compute the exact value of sine of 5 pi over 6 plus pi over 4? Okay. So when it's all separated like that for you, we know we're going to use sine of a plus b equals sine of a times cosine of b plus cosine of a times sine of b. Okay, so for our sine of 5 pi over 6 plus pi over 4, our a is the 5 pi over 6, and our b is the pi over 4. So sine of a becomes sine of 5 pi over 6. And cosine of b becomes cosine of pi over 4. Plus, our cosine of a becomes cosine of 5 pi over 6. And our sine of b becomes sine of pi over 4. Look, forgot to put my sign there. So times sine pi over 4. Okay, so if you look at your unit circle, sine of 5 pi over 6 is 1/2. Cosine of pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. Plus cosine of 5 pi over 6 is negative square root of 3 over 2. And sine of pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so now we simplify each term. You have 1 times square root of 2, which is square root of 2, over 2 times 2, which is 4. Plus a negative, so that becomes minus square root of 3 times square root of 2 is square root of 6, all over 2 times 2, which is 4. So remember, if you have square root of 3 times square root of 2, that's just square root of 3 times 2, which is square root of 6. Okay, so you can only do that with multiplication or division. You can't do that with adding and subtracting. So you can't combine those two. You can only do that if you were multiplying the two square root functions or the square root factors. Okay, but you can combine these over the same denominator since both of them have a denominator of 4. So you have square root of 2 minus square root of 6 over 4. And that's your simplified exact value. All right. So if you are still writing, feel free to press pause and finish up. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next example. Okay. So what if we let sine of a equal negative 7 over 25, where a is in quadrant 4, and cosine of b equals negative 3 over 5, where b is in quadrant 3. So we want to find sine of a plus b. Okay, so we want to find sine of a plus b. So sine of a plus b is equal to sine of a times cosine of b plus cosine of A times sine of B. Okay. Well, the thing is, they already gave us sine of A, and they gave us cosine of B. What we don't have is cosine of A and sine of B. But we have everything we need to find it. Okay, so we know that sine of A, where A is in quadrant 4, all we have to do is make our little graph here. Okay, so A is in quadrant 4, so of course this is quadrant 4. So that means our right triangle is going to be in that quadrant. Okay, so if sine of A is negative 7 over 25, and remember, sine is opposite over the hypotenuse. So that means if this is your angle here, your opposite is going to be your negative 7, and your hypotenuse is going to be 25. Okay, which means you just have to solve for your x value here. Okay, so solving for this, remember this is a right triangle, so you can have x squared plus y squared equals z squared, or a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The variables doesn't matter, but we'll use x squared plus y squared equals z squared. Okay, so we're solving for the x, so this stays as x squared. Your y is negative 7, so that's negative 7 squared equals your z squared, which is your hypotenuse, so that's 25 squared. Okay, so that's x squared plus 49 is equal to 625. We subtract 49 from both sides. We have x squared equals 625 minus 49. Okay, so actually if we just go ahead and square root both sides, we know that x is equal to positive or negative the square root of 625 minus 49, and that gives us 24. Okay, but we see that whether it's positive or negative, we look at the quadrant. Since in quadrant 4, your x is positive, in Q4, the x is positive. So that means that x is equal to the positive 24 and not the negative 24. Okay, so this x is equal to 24. Okay, now we also know that cosine of b is equal to negative 3 over 5, where b is in quadrant 3. So we do the exact same thing in quadrant 3, where this is our theta. All right, so we know that cosine, I'll move this over here, cosine of b is negative 3 over 5, where that's adjacent over the hypotenuse. Okay, so the adjacent to this angle is right here, so that's negative 3, and the hypotenuse is 5. Okay, so again, using x squared plus y squared equals z squared, because this is a right triangle, x squared plus y squared equals z squared. Okay, our x is negative 3. Then you have your y squared is what we're solving for. and your hypotenuse is 5 squared. Okay, so negative 3 squared is 9. So if we subtract 9 from both sides, we get y squared equals 5 squared minus 9. So that means that y squared is equal to 16. Square root both sides. That means y is equal to either positive or negative 4. Okay, so we see in quadrant 3, our y is negative because it's below the x-axis. So we see here in quadrant 3, the y is negative. I'll move that up a little. That means that y is equal to negative 4. Okay, so this is your negative 4. Okay, so now we get all of these. We use this information in those triangles to find our missing cosine of A and sine of B. All right. So cosine of A is adjacent over the hypotenuse. Okay. Remember, in quadrant 4, our theta is A. In quadrant 3, our theta is B. So cosine of A in quadrant 4 is adjacent over hypotenuse. So you have 24 over 25. And for sine of B, it's opposite over hypotenuse. So your B is opposite, so you have negative 4 over 5. Okay, so now we plug everything in, the 2 that we were given and the 2 that we had to find. Okay, so we have sine of A plus B equals sine of A cosine of B plus cosine of B times sine of A. All right. So that means this is going to equal sine of A, which we were already given at the beginning, which is negative 7 over 25, times sine of B, or cosine of B, which is negative 3 over 5, plus, oh, this should be cosine of A sine of B. Sorry about that. Cosine of A sine of B. So our cosine of A, we just found that, which is 24 over 25. And our sine of B, we just found that, which is negative 4 over 5. Okay, so if we multiply these two, we get negative 21 over 125. Oh, I don't know why I put a second negative there. Should be an equal sign. Nope, actually that becomes positive. Here we go. Plus 24 times negative 4 is negative 96 over 125. Okay, so that's going to equal negative 75 over 125, which can actually be simplified because 25 goes into 25 goes into 75 3 times. 25 goes into 125 5 times. Okay, so sine of A plus B is equal to negative 3 over 5. Okay, so if you are still writing, feel free to press pause and finish up. But if not, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next example, which is what if we wanted to find the exact value of sine of 285. Okay, Now to do that, you may have to use some trial and error. Okay, so note that 285 degrees is equal to 240 degrees plus 45 degrees. Okay, so we pick those two values because we can find both of those on a unit circle. Okay, so sine of 285 degrees is equal to sine of 240 degrees plus 45 degrees. Okay, so now that we have it separated, we can go ahead and use the sine of a plus b formula, which is sine of a times cosine of b plus cosine of a times sine of b. Okay, remember this is your a and this is your b. And it doesn't matter which one you put first. You can make the 45 your a and the 240 your b. You'd still get the same answer. Okay, so that's sine of 240 degrees times cosine of 45 degrees plus cosine of 240 degrees times sine of 45 degrees. Okay, so sine of 240 degrees is negative square root of 3 over 2. Cosine of 45, square root of 2 over 2. Again, you can always check your unit circle to verify this. Plus, cosine of 240 degrees is negative 1/2. And sine of 45 degrees is square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so square root of 3 times square root of 2 is negative square root of 6. We don't really need the parentheses. You can leave that alone. So you have negative square root of 6 over 2 times 2, which is 4. Plus, and you have a negative here, so that's negative 1 times square root of 2, which is square root of 2, over 2 times 2, which is 4. So you can combine those since they are over the same like denominator. So that's negative square root of 6 minus square root of 2 over 4. All right. So if you're still writing again, feel free to press pause and finish up. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next example. Let me move this back paper out the way. Here we go. Okay, so what if we wanted to compute the exact value of sine of 11 pi over 12? Okay, so what if we want to use the sum formula for sine? Well, we have 11 pi over 12. Okay, we can actually separate that 11 to equal 9 pi over 12 plus 2 pi over 12. Okay, so if we simplify both of those, we have 3 pi over 4 plus pi over 6, where both of those can be found on a unit circle. So sine of 11 pi over 12 is equal to sine of 3 pi over 4 plus pi over 6. Okay, this is your A, and this is your B. And again, if you made this your B and this your A, you still get the same answer. Okay, so we have sine of A plus B is equal to sine of A times cosine of B plus cosine of A times sine of b. Okay, so you have your a. So sine of 3 pi over 4 times cosine of b, which is pi over 6, plus your cosine of a, which is cosine of 3 pi over 4 times sine of b, so that's sine pi over 6. Okay, so sine of 3 pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2. Okay. Oh, so our cosine, excuse me, of pi over 6, sorry, excuse me, is square root of 3 over 2. There we go. Excuse me. Okay, so that's plus cosine of 3 pi over 4 is negative square root of 2 over 2. And sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. Okay, so again, we multiply these two together. We get square root of 2 times square root of 3, that's square root of 6, over 2 times 2, which is 4. Oh, that's plus negative, so we can go ahead and just make that minus. Square root of 2 times 1 is square root of 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so that gives us square root of 6 minus square root of 2 over 4 as our simplified answer. All right, so hopefully this made sense, and I'll see you on the next video.